If someone offered your child or grandchild a free $1,000 investment, would you take it? Maybe the better question is, would you keep investing there? Or is there a smarter place to build their future? Today, we're breaking down the brand new Trump accounts and comparing to the 529 plans, Roth IRAs for kids, and custodial accounts so you can make the best decision for your family. Stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss this.
Welcome into another episode of Legacy Beyond Wealth. Today we're tackling one of the big questions that parents and grandparents have and are asking right now to Axio Wealth and the team with Rob Shelton. And I think these have generated a lot of headlines here recently, but I think people are just wondering, is this the best place to invest for my children, or should I be looking elsewhere, right? Should I be looking at these 529 plans, the Roth IRA, the UTMA, the UGMA accounts? All these different options are on the table and are worth discussing. And Rob helps families do this every single day. So we want to kind of separate these headlines from planning today, Rob. And this is a big topic right now because these have just come out. Now they're officially open and ready to be used, right?
They are. It's the new tool in the toolbox, if you will. And usually the new tool is the one that gets the most attention, right? I think of it kind of like this. If we manage that there are 4 different vehicles sitting in your driveway, one could be built for college, one built for retirement, and one is built for flexibility. And now there's a 4th vehicle that's there, and that's really designed to simply give every child an early start to investing. The Trump accounts, technically called a 530A account, is designed for children under the age of 18. To become eligible, they've got to be born between January 1, 2025 and December 31st, 2028. And they'll receive $1,000 from the federal government. And families can contribute up to $5,000 a year after that. The money is invested in a low-cost U.S. index funds and generally can't be accessed until after the age of 18. And so, the goal really isn't just saving, it's introducing an entire generation to this concept of long-term investing that's out there.
Yeah, and I think we talk about all the time, the earlier you can start someone on that path, the much better off they'll be long term. And this all sounds pretty attractive. Is this meant to replace the 529 plan?
Not in my opinion. And this is where people need to maybe just slow down a little bit. One of the biggest mistakes families make is asking which account is the best. I think the better question that we should be asking ourselves is best for what? Where are we looking to be able to go? And every account solves a different problem. If your primary goal is paying for college, I still think a 529 plan is usually the gold standard. And that's because earnings grow tax-free. You get qualified educational withdrawals are tax-free. Many states offer different tax incentives and contribution limits are dramatically higher. And with some recent law changes, it allows you to be able to roll over unused funds into a Roth IRA under certain conditions. And so this makes the 529 really powerful.
Yeah, so it sounds like that's still a great option for many people. Then why are the Trump accounts getting so many headlines?
Yeah, I think it's really important. It's because you're getting a free $1,000. So if someone gives your child $1,000, that's a pretty compelling starting point, and it's really what generates the headlines. And I tell clients all the time, never let politics determine whether you'll accept financial benefit, whether you voted Republican, Democrat, or independent. This doesn't matter. If the government is putting $1,000 into your grandchild's future or your child's future, it's worth paying attention. Now, would I necessarily direct every future dollar there? That's where we maybe would have a different discussion.
Yeah, maybe that's where some of those questions come up, right? You have that $5,000 per year max. So when you're talking with someone now that is in this position where they can start contributing for a kid or grandkid right now, how do you talk through and think through that discussion?
Yeah, I think, it really has to be goal oriented. And so there's a series of questions we would ask. For instance, if the child already has earned income, a custodial Roth IRA could be great. It's flexible, is the highest priority. It might be a uniform transfer to minor account or a uniform gift to minor account. Usually we use those acronyms UTMA and UGMA for those accounts. If they're eligible for the free $1,000, we should absolutely look at the Trump account, and they can be complementary to each other We just want to make sure they're not competing against each other and taking you away from where you ultimately want to be able to provide that help for that child or grandchild.
Yeah, I think that's important to remind people that these things can all work together, right? I mean, I think it goes without saying, retirement planning is like that. You're using all these different tools to kind of help you reach your goals. It's not always just picking one or the other, black or white. So as we look at these different options that are available then for people, let's start with that Roth IRA, because I think that's one that people often overlook, right?
It is, and it's probably one of my favorites that's out there, but there has to be one catch to it. And that is that the child has to have earned income, not an allowance, actual earned income, working in the family business. Maybe it's babysitting, lifeguarding, mowing lawns, modeling, acting, anywhere where there's legitimate wages earned. So if you can imagine a 14-year-old earning $5,000 during the summer, if they contribute that $5,000 to a Roth IRA, that money could potentially compound for 50 or 60 years. And historically, the U.S. stock market has, broadly returned around 10% annually before inflation over the long period of time. And there's real big opportunity there, although we always have to add that disclaimer, future returns are never guaranteed. But the biggest advantage isn't necessarily the return, it's the decades of tax-free compounding available in the Roth account that's incredibly difficult to replicate anywhere else.
Are you ready to unlock the freedom to live your best life? Schedule your no-cost 60-minute discovery meeting with our team today. During this session, we'll take the time to understand your family story and financial dreams. Together, we'll craft a personalized roadmap designed to help you achieve your goals. Let's explore how we can unlock the freedom for you and your family to thrive. Just click the link in the description of today's show to get started.
Yeah, that's that tool where the earlier you start it, really the stronger, more powerful it becomes. So yeah, getting that money in there really early could be quite a life changer for many people as they get a little bit older. I know a lot of our listeners are grandparents, and a lot of the people that you work with, Rob, are grandparents, and it's a great honor to have. But for those people in that position as grandparents, what should they be thinking about in terms of this conversation?
Yeah, I think really it's looking at the goals that are out there. I was just talking with a neighbor yesterday and asked him, what's your grandkid going to be going into as he left high school? And they said he's got his welder certificate. He loves welding. He's going to go right into welding. The career path that used to be go to college may not always be there for people that maybe want to go to an alternative path for education, like becoming a welder. And so I think understanding what benefit you want to provide to your children or grandchildren is really the starting point. If we can define that destination, we can help then be able to decide which of these different accounts are best to be able to help kids with, or a combination of them. But really what we're trying to teach the grandchildren here isn't so much about what account is best. By simply helping out and giving your grandchild or child a gift to be able to invest regardless of the account is actually teaching them how wealth works and is actually built. And that's going to be so much more for them in the long term. I mean, there's fascinating behavioral finance research showing that habits and financial behaviors learned early often are a lasting influence on a lifetime of saving and investing. So children who grow up seeing investing as a normal approach are much more likely to become long-term investors themselves. And sometimes that's the greatest inheritance. It isn't money, but it's the mindset that you can be able to pass on to that next generation.
Yeah, it's that legacy beyond wealth, right, that we talk about every day on this show, and that's why it's named that way. Where do the UTMA and the UGMA accounts that you just mentioned, where do they fit into all of this discussion?
Yeah, I would think flexibility. Those accounts can be used for almost anything that benefits the child. Education, a first home, starting a business, wedding expenses, whatever life brings. But there's a trade-off, because once that child reaches the age of majority, that is legally their money and not yours. And so that means if you got a 22-year-old that decides, I'd rather go buy a sports car than finish school, you no longer control that decision. And that's why families need to think through these opportunities carefully before choosing the different custodial accounts. And if I could here real quick, Ben, just give a personal story. My 8-year-old son is earning some good money in a summer job right now. And he's doing his Roth IRA, but he also wanted to put a little bit money away in investing. I'm grateful that he has. And I think it became because years ago we opened that Roth IRA for him and he was able to see those gains. So really getting down this mindset is one thing that I think is so important. If anyone takes anything away, it's trying to pass that on means more than passing on any specific dollar amount.
Yeah, I love that, and that's so important to keep in mind there. And if you want to reach out, right, want to talk with Rob about this, feel free to get in touch, axiowm.com. And for anyone that does come into your office, Rob, and sits down, whether it be someone that's new or one of your clients right now that maybe has a newborn or expecting a child here over these next couple of years, what would this conversation look like? Kind of walk us through how you would take someone through this process.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that question. We love to go through a discovery, but we're going to ask a lot of questions to understand the overall picture. Your finances are one where it's kind of like a pond. And when you throw a rock in a pond, you see the ripples that go out. And you can't just isolate one part of your financial plan. It usually has ripple effects into other parts. So we're going to ask lots of questions to make sure those ripples are all pushing towards your financial goals. But particularly when it comes to kids or grandkids, there's four questions I think that people ought to really think about. And first, do they qualify for the government contribution? If yes, they probably want to capture that free $1,000. Second, are the parents planning on their kids going to college? If yes, 529 is really a good place to be able to start looking at because of its tax advantages. And then later on in life, if they pivot, again, because of law changes, we could potentially move some of that money over into a Roth if they don't use all of the 529. And third, this is where, does the child likely have earned income as a teenager? And if so, let's definitely look at introducing a Roth IRA where appropriate. And last but not least, what are the grandparents hoping to accomplish? Is it helping with education, creating flexibility, leaving a legacy? And different goals often point to different account types. So financial planning isn't about finding the best account. It's about finding the right combination that can be used to help accomplish what you're looking to do.
And that's why you want to work with a team that does this every day with clients, right? They can take you through all these different thought processes and questions that need to be answered before you make decisions about where you're going to invest your money, how you're going to contribute that, how you're going to save for your child's future, what's the best path for you, right? 'Cause it's going to look different for everyone. So get in touch, axiowm.com to set up that initial meeting to begin talking through some of this. But as we kind of sum up this video, Rob, as people are kind of want to walk away here with maybe just kind of one last takeaway here on these Trump accounts, whether your money should go in there, where should it be going right now? Sum it all up for us, kind of here to close it all out. One piece of advice for us.
Yeah, I would say just don't let the headlines make the decision for you. Whether it's called a Trump account, a 529, a Roth, or a custodial account, the account itself isn't what changes a child's future. The consistency does. Families who start early, invest regularly, stay invested, and can teach their children while they're investing that helps them to stay disciplined usually win. The account matters, but the habit matters so much more.
Absolutely. Great advice, as always. If you'd like help determining what strategy is going to fit best for your children or your grandchildren, and maybe how that fits into your overall legacy planning, please reach out to Rob and the team at Axio Wealth Management and begin having that conversation. But we appreciate you watching and listening to an episode of Legacy Beyond Wealth. We've enjoyed this. This was a big topic a lot of people are wondering about, so I'm glad we can answer a few questions today. If you liked it, please subscribe. Also leave a comment as well. We'd appreciate that support. We'll talk to you again right here on Legacy Beyond Wealth.